everybody. Welcome to another episode of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I am Eddie Podge, your host. This is my co-host,
Mark Simpson.
And we are here for episode number 34. We have a special guest in the audience today. That is Christina Buttle. She's sitting over there. She'll be out here in a short while. Tell us why we're here, Mark.
We are here to educate a younger generation through our heartaches, our failures, our successes, how we do certain things. And if anything you guys could take away from this podcast, learn from us a little bit and have a successful, help you with success in your career.
You know, last night at the Father's Day dinner, one of my daughters had this great idea. We should all go around the dinner table and say something that, you know, really like about Dad, which is kind of funny. But the one daughter said to me, she said, I always like how whatever's going on, you're trying to help us. You're trying to make us better. You're not trying to drag us down, not trying to lay guilt on. You're just trying to help us be better people, and I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, usually it takes for the kid to get older till they realize that your parent is the one who's got your back all the time. Yep.
And then we had an incident like within 5 minutes. My daughter was supposed to be off. She's getting and I said to her, "You gotta listen to advice. You have your mother here. You have me here. Take a deep breath.
I hear you.
Don't let it ruin your day. Take a different approach."
I don't, everything you read about and hear about with people listening, and you think about when we were 17, 18, 19 years old, did you listen? Probably not as much as you should.
Not as much as I should have.
Right.
All right, bud. Going into sports moment of the weekend.
Let's do it.
You go first.
So I'm going to say it was the Rangers trading Chris Kreider, 13-year career. Thank you very much, Chris Kreider. Will be remembered as an all-time great Ranger. We didn't win the Cup, unfortunately, but hey, it was had to be done.
Yeah. Salary cap issues.
Salary cap issues. More to come, probably from the Rangers as well, because we're going to ignore the Mets sweep this week.
Yeah, that's why they won us. So I had to come up with something because I had nothing. Right. And believe it or not, cornhole.
Oh.
So you and I played cornhole for a couple of years together on a team. You know, my buddy Galuzzo, he invited me to a fundraiser for a fallen comrade of his at the Deer Park High School Friday night.
Right.
So I got a buddy of mine from the networking group, got my daughter and her friend, and we went down to support. They had like 70 baskets to buy tickets to bid on. My networking group had one. We had over $500 worth of lottery tickets. Anyway, I signed up to do cornhole, and we go over to warm up. And my very first throw,
you nail it? Yeah,
right through the hole.
So
we made it out of the first round.
Right.
We lost in the second round, and I could say, this is crazy. You know, you get 4 on the board, you're thinking you did pretty good, right?
There's guys that now
He had 4 in the hole.
Yeah.
I had 4 on the board. Wow. He had 4 in the hole.
Yeah.
It was like all I could do is just,
where we used to play some of those guys now, it's just hole. Yeah.
Crazy. So going into chapter 8 today. Talks about the low-hanging fruit, and I bring this up because my company, they don't understand how I work. They never have. They never realize how this one guy could do over $6 million in revenue, and they just keep telling me about the big fishes, the big whales. Chase them, right. Chase them. And I have a plethora of low-hanging fruit that's just there, and it's just easy to grab. Why? Because I'm good at what I do, but it's just easy to grab. It's right there. So you're asking me to turn my back on low-hanging fruit to go after bigger whales. And I've said to my boss, I said, in the last 2 years, name one big whale that came in before I became part of this national team. I've been a local guy for 13 and a half years. Tell me, who's brought in a national whale?
Right.
Well, we got to keep looking, and you can't be wasting your time with these onesie-twosies. And I say to myself, that's what's built my portfolio.
Right. So, and, maybe about 10 or 11, 12 years ago, I was involved with a company that we sold, and I could say the guy's name, Ken Mara, who was like a second father to me. He always used to have this saying, I'll take slow nickels over quick dollars.
Yeah.
And had a very long time successful business that we eventually sold. Unfortunately, Ken's no longer with us. It was terrible, but they're slow nickels over quick dollars, and sometimes that sounds like exactly what you're doing.
You know, one of the things that I pride myself in is how do you go about getting that low-hanging fruit? What are you doing? What is your leave behind? That's a key word I use in my book. I use it everywhere. What's your leave behind sound like?
Right.
obviously my leave behind is pretty fucking good. For so many people to reach out via email, text, call, even though I may have just emailed them.
Well, I think one of the things you do is you make an impression.
Right.
That you know how to stand out.
One way or another, whether through an email, through a text, whatever it is, making that impression.
And you have a good energy. I think our guest today has good energy. I think that's something that why you stand out, she stands out, people definitely remember.
You know, I never thought low-hanging fruit could ever be so easy. And I don't want to sound condescending, but for me, it is.
Well,
it's there.
You know, several businesses we talk about always like your existing customer, mind your base.
Mind your
be a
base.
Farmer, there's nothing wrong with that, you know.
You know, for my business, we pick up containers every day. Pick up containers means I stop earning money.
Right.
So if I have 20 pickups this week, I got to get at least 30 new next week.
To be in the positive. Right?
I got to, exactly. So I did forget to say the action statement for this was good. Have someone listen to your email. When you go to leave a message on a phone, just for shits and giggles, have someone listen to it. See what you're missing, see what you're not connecting on, see what you might need help with.
Let me say this. Pick up the phone and leave a message.
Versus, just picking up the phone is a bit.
We had this whole debate of, you know, sometimes you meet people and they send you just a text. And I get that's how it kind of works, but I hate to say being old school, but now it's kind of like, isn't there a certain like line that before we become text buddies?
Yes. To me there is, absolutely. And one other thing is less is more in an email. Mm-hmm. You know, don't tell your story.
And look, we've said this over and over again. How an email or a text is perceived can be completely different than a phone call. We said this on past episodes where you get a text, you know, all of a sudden you're like, you get this war in your head. There's a conflict in your head where if you just basically had the phone call and it wasn't meant to come off that way, you've just saved a whole bunch of aggravation and issue.
It's very true. Very true. All right, we're going to jump into trade show sales tip. What do you got for us this week?
I like to be creative, but I'd say, listen, we've said this over and over, preparation. If you're going to go to the trade show, you go all in, you be prepared. I was with a couple companies that had trade shows recently that put a lot of effort into it, got a lot of results. Your results occurred before the trade show started.
You would hope.
There you go.
Yeah. So for me, it's, you know, how do I make a big impression? That's really what it boils down to, standing out. How do I make a big impression? Something I taught a young guy at a trade show last week. Have a really nice bottle of booze to give away on your table. It's a great impression. Not a $20 bottle of vodka.
Right.
$60 bottle of scotch or some bourbon. That's one tip. Have an interactive booth. I'm seeing that more and more when I go to these shows. A little cornhole.
When you say, cornhole,
little golf.
Right, engage. Non-business, selling by not selling.
Basket hoops, shooting basketballs.
That makes total sense to me.
Yeah, being a little more interactive. You don't want them just there to, you want them there to have a moment.
Right, take a shot, scan your card.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. Yep, that makes sense.
And have a good, whether you want to call it a giveaway or a leave behind. To me, my best giveaway is a pod squishy. Because it just sits there. It's a box. It's what it is. It's exactly what it is. You know, when people get these squishies, they're circles, they're hard. Mine's an actual box, and it's a great little stress relief.
Right.
Guys walking by, I can't tell you how many times I've thrown them at people.
And
thanks, man. It's all good. Networking tip of the day. Give us something new, Mark. Come on, something new.
So you'd be happy. I was networking last week.
Comac chamber?
No, outside the chamber. But I was showing up at places that 3 years ago, if you asked me if I would ever show up, I would say no. But now I show up. My expectation when I network is I don't expect anything.
Right.
And I think what some people are saying is they really appreciated that I was kind of honest. And I was there to meet people, and it was more a social thing for me than it was a networking thing. If business comes out of it, great.
Fantastic.
But the biggest thing was really just getting to know people and kind of being open. I like meeting new people. I'm kind of fascinated by people's stories. That's why this is kind of interesting on the podcast as well. So I'd say just be open and sometimes get stuff by not expecting stuff.
So I went to a conference last week, once again, stepping out of my comfort zone, going to a concert in New York City. A conference.
Right.
Didn't know anyone there.
What was the conference?
It was a relocation conference.
Oh, relo? Okay.
Similar to Raleigh, similar to Philadelphia. And, you know me, thing starts at 12:30. I'm there at 11:30.
Yep.
I walk in the door, and there were 2 people there before me. And they were already sitting on the leather chairs, and I just walked in, sat my ass down, and said, "Hey, what's going on, everybody? How we doing?" And they became my 2 best buds for the next 7 hours. I mean, It was a 7-hour event. But one of the things that I did that I haven't done too often, and I guess I'm stepping up my game, there was a collaboration time. There was about 80 people in the room. We broke into tables. There was 3 questions to be asked, answers to be had. And when I got this table together, I decided to be the note taker. I'm going to take all the notes because we had to do a presentation when it was over.
Yep.
And when I started taking all the notes, I realized I'm the presenter because I'm the one with the notes.
Right.
So 30 minutes go by. We put everything together. Again, there's 10 tables, and the woman goes, "Okay, who wants to go first?" Right here. First guy.
So what you had was data. And in today's age, when you have data, you have power. And when you know how to use that data and manipulate it a certain way and spit it back to people, that is very powerful.
So I got to go first, and I got halfway through the presentation, and I stopped, and I said, "Bill's going to finish it up." I give it over to Bill. And he was like, "Thanks." Like, he knew that I had it, and I could have just taken this all the way through.
Right.
I wanted to share.
That's it.
I wanted him to shine. I wanted him to feel the love, but everyone at the table saw what I did.
Yep. Always team building. Yep.
Always team building. So, being memorable, being involved, create conversation, those are all things that I do, but I put them all in the same event. And like I said, it was a 7-hour event.
Right.
It was pretty freaking good. We had a really good time.
7 hours is a long time, too.
Finished the night off with 3 old fashions before I got to Penn Station and took a train home. But, doing what I say here.
And you stayed awake on the train after 3 old fashions.
I did. Okay, we're going to come up to tequila time. We're going to bring out our guest. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 34 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Potts. This is my co-host, Mark. And this is our special guest, Christina Buttle.
Hello.
Welcome, Christine.
We are here at Tequila Time. So Tequila Time has a meaning. It's old and new. That's the version of it. Something we've done old that we used to do a certain way that maybe we do differently now. Same results, different results, better results, not so better. But I try to focus on something. And for me, I went to this event. I told you guys a little earlier. I went to this conference, and again, put on my suit of armor. My suit of armor is Chris Cardizano. He is a clothier, Christopher Allen Clothier, and I have custom-made clothes. Not a lot. I got like 5 shirts, pants, and a really cool sport coat. But in the old days, I would have just worn the pod shirt and a pair of khakis and said that it's a day. But past 2 years since I bought the jacket, it's like my suit of armor.
Dressing to impress.
I feel like $1 million. I feel special. I feel like I have the nicest clothes on when I go. It makes me feel better. Whether it leads to new business or not, who knows? But I like being the best dressed guy in the group.
That's what they say about when you go to the gym. Wear your best gym clothes.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
Like, you're going to just feel better about yourself, and you're going to have a better workout.
I might have to step up my
that
gym.
dirty, smelly T-shirt that
clothes
doesn't accent your pecs, come on, man. Come on.
Right?
So we're going to toast to Tequila Time, old and new clothes. I thought you'd like that. You're a good dresser. Yummy.
Old and new.
Pants.
It hurt me when I was young, and it hurts me when I'm older. So some consistency.
So we're including you in our best business decision of the week. I'll go first. So for me, it was the NY Core Conference. It was relocation, people coming in from all over, Boston, Florida. It was a 7-hour event, but they really they did some education, they did some fundraising, which was really nice. They brought a girl in who won a scholarship, really nice stuff. But bonding with people for 7 hours over food, drink, snack, a title of interest. We're all there to get more business in the relocation space. That's why we're there. So I'm trying to meet RMCs. They're trying to meet VPs, and we're all trying to meet somebody there. But they have rules. No handing out business cards.
No handing out?
No handing out business. You got to do it on the sly if you have to do it.
Use that little LinkedIn code.
Yeah.
That's it. So
That's right?
That's
Okay,
right.
cool.
Right on. So that's what they do. They don't carry business cards. If they're interested, they'll say, open up your LinkedIn, and we'll do that whole song and dance. And, it was a really good conference, but it opened my eyes. Met some California people, which I need in my book of business. I met a company that only delivers from New York to California, from California to New York, nothing else. That's a perfect company to give me leads, because they're not going to get all that business. And I have plenty of clients who don't want to use pods to do the trip there. So we immediately became, we have something here.
Right.
We have an opportunity to connect each other to a lot more business. So for me, that was my best business decision of the week. And again, it's a 12-hour day. Getting into the city by 10:30, I'm at the train at 9. By the time I rolled into my house to have some cold dinner, it's 9:30 at night. Sacrifice the family for the day, sacrifice everything. Why? Because it's worth it. What about you? Best business decision?
So it continues to be, my best business decision is just kind of being nice to people. I've helped out several people, and I never think, we never talk about money or something
Right.
like that. And just in the last couple of years, the amount of opportunity that comes from just being kind and trying to really help. And I say it, as a CFO, I know this is a sales podcast, but CFO, sell by not selling. So all these opportunities open up just by basically not looking to do anything. And next thing you know, you've got a whole bunch of opportunities to do stuff.
And sometimes it happens so much later.
Right.
I'll get contacted by someone that is high level, and they'll say, I think my company's downsizing. Do you still do that recruiting thing? Because I have given them statistics on something in the past. I just went on my way to do something small. And
That's a favor.
Yeah.
With no compensation.
They didn't buy
expected.
anything
Yeah,
from me,
right.
but they'll always come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Setting that good example. I did my first paid speaking engagement last week.
That is cool.
Someone I met at a trade show, bought my book at the bar. He read the book and then called me up and said, I want you to come speak to my team. We're going to be doing some networking and some trade shows, and those 2 chapters, I really want you to speak upon. And I started the presentation with talking about the Go-Giver. I don't know if you ever read the book. It's 110 pages. Grab it sometime. It's the people who give without wanting anything in return. The people who aren't expecting anything in return. People who are just trying to help humankind. I can't say mankind anymore. Humankind, just trying to help people, be a good service to people. That first opening line resonated more. There was 12 people in the meeting. That resonated more than everything else I said. Give before taking. Offer to help before asking,
It almost dials down any tension where you're not getting pitched, I don't have to buy anything. It's almost like you set the groundwork as we're just having a conversation, just like this podcast.
Right. The cool part was 7 of the people reached out to me on LinkedIn to thank me.
That's good.
Really appreciate you coming on. It was really, really got a lot out of it, especially that Go-Giver stuff. Just knowing that I'm helping people. Yes, I got paid. That was the exciting part, getting paid for it. But the exciting part was sharing and being able to tell people what they should and shouldn't do. And my buddy, he read my book and he's like, talk about the food. Talk about the food. And I'm like, okay, you're at an event. You don't hurdle over anybody to get me first at the food table. You don't walk around grabbing every last as if you've never eaten before. Eat a snack in your car before you come in. Keep your hands clean of food. Keep your face clean of food. No, you don't want, shit hanging from your teeth. He just thought that was...
Because it's just, every action you take is representation of yourself.
Correct. Right. And people are judging you. I don't care how much people say we're not judging. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
100%.
That person who just jumped over the table. No, I don't know. That guy's whack.
It's an honest podcast.
Yeah, yeah, no, completely. And it should be, because there are so many things that us as, the quota carrying grit that you have to have, we tend to not share all the, that might have been a story that could have waited, but people want to hear that because that's the real facts
Help me be
about
better.
what we're doing.
Right.
Help me be better.
Yeah.
My buddy did a trade show, his very first one, walked up to him. Everything was perfect, and I told him so. He goes, okay, give me the butt. So, you have no giveaway on your table. You have nothing to gather people's business cards other than your good looks, which you're a good-looking man, but that's not going to get someone to drop a card in your pocket. You're at a trade show, you spend $3,000 to be here, have a bucket, a bowl, a giveaway to gather. He's like, great, Ted, thanks. And I know he took it to heart, like he's just trying to help me. He wants to see me succeed, and that's the way it was meant. So, your big win of the week?
So I was like, how do I think of this in like 5 minutes when you guys were going? And it was deciding, and I did decide to do it, whether or not we should do a pass-through on a product.
No
and
margin pass-through.
What a pass-through, because you're in this. And maybe,
Educate me.
yeah, so a pass-through means I'm going to resell something from a partner to my client.
To make
But make $0 on
Okay.
it, right? And you always have to weigh the pros and cons of it. Like, it is going to take effort from my finance team, from me. We're doing the quote.
right, 'cause it's not really a pass-through. There's really like a little bit of a loss.
There is a loss because it's time's money.
Right.
Right, but so
But-
you're on a contract or something that you can provide, but you're doing it a favor for somebody.
Correct. And part of the analysis was, well, the customer recommended us. So that's a win for us.
Yep.
Like,
Sure.
that's really great.
You
You
know.
like us. The partner could not give us the discounts that we would have needed to make any margin. But I know that this partner has a lot of pull in the customer. And if I do this, there's going to be payback eventually, right? Some pass-throughs you don't want to do because it's like you don't have even an agreement with them.
Right.
You're not really
It's a
in.
dead
Like,
end.
yeah, it's like I'm just going to lose on this, and it's a one and done deal.
Right.
So I'm 3.5 months into this role, right? So you don't always want to go to your boss and be like, hey, I got something, but we're not going to make anything
Money.
on it.
Yay!
Yeah, so
But-
you have to have your business case kind of
It
ready.
makes total, like this happens a lot. It makes total sense, and really the payback you won't be able to tell for 15, 18 months. But if they call you, you look like a shining star afterwards. Be like, hey, remember that favor?
Good,
Yeah.
good
Right.
business decision.
Exactly. And there's a lot of different touch points. I got the stakeholder that we've ever worked with. I got procurement who recommended us, and now we're coming through procurement. So there's pluses in it, and we'll make our money eventually.
Right.
So that was my business decision of the week.
Good.
One of the things that I do the best for myself and my business is I plant seeds. My expectation of one seed is 6 to 9 months. That's my expectations. But, as I say this often, if I plant one today, 6 months from today it'll come through. If I plant one tomorrow, 6 months from the day, you plant seeds every day, all of a sudden your calendar starts turning over, and now's the time. And all those seeds start to sprout, and they start calling. And it's at a nice, steady pace that continues to fill your funnel, for me.
See, I look at it, and you know this firsthand. I develop relationships with people, and then I like to bring them wherever I go. And I'm lucky going into certain roles, you get to dictate, certain positions. And I think one company I have probably about 30 people in or so, but you've seen,
Yeah, I have.
and
Yes,
because
firsthand,
a lot of
absolutely.
times it's my accountability, so it's easy for me to go back and be like, hey Ed, did you screw this up? So,
Understood.
but yeah, I'm a big fan of networking and bringing relationships and going forward that way.
Word of the day, connectability. People
Yeah.
want, what do you mean? Are you a guy that people want to, or gal that people want to connect? And, in my presentation last week, I said you could be the most handsomest man in the room, the prettiest girl in the room. I'm going to find you. They're like, what? I'm like, yes, I'm going to be around pretty people. I'm going to be around handsome people. They're alphas. They usually are alphas when you go to events. They're the ones standing there with people all around them. It's just what I observe. Doesn't mean that that's what happens in every room, but I'm going to find a way to connect to the best people in this room. And that is always my goal, connectability. What's going to make me different than everybody else? Being able to think quick on my feet was most likely one of them, because I'll just listen in on a conversation and take that little piece of data, put it back here, so that when I have that one-on-one minute with him at the bar or over by the food, I could spring that on there. Oh, you were listening, you were paying attention. You're connectable.
And that's an uncomfortable thing to say.
I know,
but it's the truth.
It is the truth.
I'm just listening.
I got eyes rolled at
like,
me when I said it, and I said, "But it's the truth."
Yeah, and then once you see, why are people are connecting with that? Something's over there. Let me go see what's going on.
I also think it's your energy.
Yes, it's aura.
Yeah,
it is.
You have an aura. You have an aura. I get that completely. Is what you're saying. Whether good looking, not good looking, but there's an aura to people that
there's a
attracts
personality
people.
that is. I have something that I've always used where I can lower defense barriers very quickly. And I listen to podcasts. That's why I'm here. I'm like, I love podcasts, and I will listen to so many all day long, driving, cleaning, whatever. And the one thing that I took from one is to connect with someone. It's people want to hear good things about themselves.
Of course.
So you don't want to make it up.
Right.
But if you're thinking something about someone and it's going to make them feel better about themselves, say it.
Do it.
Like, why are we not giving more compliments?
Agreed.
If someone is going to compliment me, like, it doesn't happen often. Like, people aren't trying to lift you up, right? So the more you do that to someone, and it can't come across as fake or like,
hey, beautiful.
Right? They're like trying to, but throw them a compliment they deserve, and you will be remembered.
Listen, I did a conference in Raleigh. Last event, last night, last minute, I'm walking out the door. The guy stops and said, "Your presentation yesterday was fucking awesome." I said, "I got a lot out of it. I enjoyed it." And I went to shake his hand. "Give me your card." I'm like, I don't need you to take my card. He goes, "No, give me your card. You're the kind of people I want to work with." You recognized what I did was valuable. You saw that I put my time and effort to the presentation at hand, and you reacted the way I hoped everybody would react. Well, and it's not reality that everyone's going to feel that way, but who's going to walk up and say it? Like you just said, who's going to walk up and say it?
So just think about this. So we did a couple things at Comac High School recently.
Yeah.
And so just like what you did and what you do, and you go up and you're very aggressive and say, "Hey, that was great, awesome." There was probably 5 kids that went out of the way in front of the whole, "Hey, I just want to say thank you. Hey, can I ask you questions?" And that's and one of the biggest challenges that you see in today's world, between the kids having their heads buried in phones and adults having their heads buried
in the phones.
People don't know how to interact and just have a normal conversation or be like, "Hey, that was awesome," or talk to strangers. So
at that age too. Yeah, a high schooler knowing that the polite thing to do would be to thank you for your time.
All right, and that will get you so far ahead versus I could care less what your resume says. If someone comes up and be like, "Hey, just want to talk to you," no one's looking at a piece of paper.
I had one of the high school kids. I saw him at the second event that you missed. He asked me if he can come to my Tuesday morning networking group. And I brought him. He presented. He got a fucking standing ovation. 17-year-old kid.
That makes me tear up.
He was money. He knew what he wanted. And the letter he wrote me afterwards. "Thank you for giving me the platform. I really appreciate you, blah, blah." And I said, "This is about being the go-giver. This is exactly what that means."
Right, so he won't get into Harvard, but he'll still be very successful.
There you go. So, special guest.
Oh, thank you. Very, very special. Yes.
Who are you working
my
for?
Parents live on your block pretty much.
I pass your dad, mom and dad's house every day when we walk our dogs. Every day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so if we're cool, so why don't we take, so obviously you've got a lot of experience in the sales world, very comfortable in going up and networking and whatnot. Came out of Penn State?
Yes.
So work us through. So out of Penn State, what was that? What do you say? We are Penn State, right?
We are.
Yeah.
We are. So it was kind of by happenstance that I even fell into sales, right?
Were you always in sales, even out of school?
So I started as an IT recruiter.
Okay.
And that's how I got into the technology world. And as a recruiter, you're not technically selling to a customer, but you're selling to a person still. You want to help them find their job, and you want them to work with you and not the competition to get placed at an organization. But at the time, like, you don't really know you're doing sales. You're just doing the job, and you have to connect with people. And I'm 22, right out of college, trying to talk to men that are your age now about how I can help them find their next
I don't know if
career.
that hurts me a little bit, or
Right. Well, I'm pretty close in your age, but I'm saying when I am like,
Right.
you know, they were your age
no,
now.
I get it.
So that was tough for me, because growing up, you're not taught to ask people what they make, and like, you know, so it really helped me get over that fear of talking to anybody. So when you spend a year and a half just trying to navigate, how do I come across over the phone, then how do I come across in person?
Were you out of the city, or were you out of
I was out of Melville first, and then I was promoted into sales role to now be more customer facing, where I would make sure I understood the client requirement, and then I'd work with the recruiters to see who the resources were. Then I moved on from that into software sales. And that was a big change, because
was that something you just fell into, or were you specifically looking to do software sales?
I wasn't even really looking from the company I was with.
Your outgoing personality attracted someone and just said, hey.
Yeah, it was kind of
This
like
is you.
the networking thing, where one of my parents' friends had been at this company for years on end, and he was like, you can make a lot more money. I said, I'm good. Like, I make decent money, right?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah, like, please,
I'm
no.
good.
But I knew that software sales definitely had bigger commissions, bigger things, and I would be working with people older than me, because I knew the culture of that company, and I knew I would learn more if I had moved and challenged myself to do something different. So I landed that job, and so that's like my second really big company, like multi-billion-dollar company. And then I decided to go and work for a smaller company.
It's a big change when you go big to small, too.
Yeah,
right?
this was like, ooh, but what I really liked about the opportunity is that they were trying to grow a new division of theirs.
Oh, so you could be somebody
So it was
there.
like I kind of had the influence, and I would be the one that was making the hiring
You're
decisions.
a driver.
Yeah, so I thought that would be cool. It didn't really go as planned. It was a tough time in the market too. This was like right before like election, and you know, things were
Percolating.
right. Things were not. No one was spending.
We want to wait and see who wins.
Exactly.
Really?
So it was a difficult time. And being that there was no name brand at the time, it makes it even harder to then get customers to really see your value, because you don't have the prior experience. The whole thing. And I had been reached out to by the company I'm with now, and I said, do I want to go back to a big company? And I was like, I think I'm ready now to
tackle it,
to go and be with a $22 billion company, privately held, and the culture at this company is, you don't feel as if you are the small fish in a big sea, right? It's so
like
team oriented, where we're industry aligned, we have a focus, we have so much support. So each practice area has its own technologists, its own marketing materials. Nothing. I don't have to build anything from scratch, and that is
so you have
what
a lot
was
of support, right?
That was what
huge.
my headache was.
Well, that's the big difference between going from
large and
small to big. Small, you're doing
Sure,
everything.
Christina, you could do it. Go do it.
Right.
What?
Yeah, whatever you
I'm a
want to do.
designer now.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's almost like a culture shock though, because legitimately, when you go somewhere like that and there's a whole support team and you've been grinding it out, doing your own stuff, and having to do everything on yourself, and then you have help, you're like, well, how do I even use the help?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And there's there's obviously learning curves come with this job.
So which vertical did you specialize in?
So I am in the media, entertainment, and sports.
Nice.
Which fit me like a glove.
Is that historically you've always been in that vertical, or is
No, but she was a lacrosse player at Penn State.
Sports, I can actually leverage some of my dad's connections, right?
go.
I've always
Right.
been in these roles where, it was great if someone recognized the last name, but I never got like a leg up
Right.
because
Didn't- right.
the
No
customers, it was like,
Right.
However, at the company prior, the recruiting company, the staffing company, I had spent probably about a year in media entertainment.
Okay.
So I did know the lay of the land. I had relationships that today I'm still utilizing from 4 or 5 years ago. So it's familiar to me. I enjoy learning about their challenges because it's what we as customers use.
Right, and it's a changing dynamic. Like the landscape is drastically changing too now, right? In that vertical.
100%.
Right.
I mean,
Stream.
streaming, fan experience, AI is huge in this segment. I want all segments, but it's just
Right.
really cool to learn what they're doing and
Being part of it.
as a user of their.
Sure.
So what are you? I don't know if we're allowed to say it, but what exactly are we selling these days?
Oh yeah, so it's a global IT solutions company.
Okay.
So we're technology agnostic.
Yep.
We're all across the globe. We're leveraged really to help our customers understand and build out the roadmap of where they're trying to go with their technology stack.
Okay.
What they want to do from a speed and efficiency standpoint, what they want to do to increase revenue, mitigate risk, security standpoint. So we are not hey, here's a product that we have. We partner with
Right.
OEMs, original manufacturers like a Cisco, Fortinet, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Dell, HP, like all of the big players.
Right.
So we do have reach into the vendors and technology companies that have the products that these companies
Right.
need, but we are the ones that are executing.
Nice.
So we're going to be the ones that are going to do the implementation.
You have the developers, or
We have developers,
Right.
yeah, and each practice area of ours is a segment of technology that you should really have the expertise and the SMEs to help have those conversations with your customers and then get them to where they want to be.
interesting.
So I got a sports-related question because I'm all sports all the time. You know how big flag football is right now for the girls.
Yes, and
Would
God,
you
I
have-
wish it was.
Would you have played if you had flag
It
football?
was my favorite, like, elementary gym
Game.
activity. It was so fun.
My
Yes.
daughter does it. She's from Comac High
Oh.
School. It's her second year. She's retiring. She doesn't want to do it next year. She's a big ass senior. But from your background and that you played lacrosse, and I know your age, and I know your dad, and it's like I bet you anything she would have loved to.
I would have loved that. That's so cool because, size was never on my side.
Right.
Right. It was always my speed, agility.
Yeah.
And because it's a flag football, it's not as if you have to be this
Physical.
Right,
physically, larger
It is
woman.
more quick twitch responses than anything. The girl that can blink and pull a flag, that's someone running by you, is just as valuable as the girl who can catch a touchdown. You don't see that a lot in sports where doing that is really valuable.
Yes.
And I went to every game and I was just blown away by these girls.
I haven't
so
seen
cool.
it be played.
Oh,
I have,
man.
yeah, I have
It's
to.
just gaining a lot of traction. I know, definitely in Suffolk, it's gaining a lot of
Yeah.
traction. Yeah.
Yes.
And that is, I always say, sports are going to give your children every life lesson and every skill that they'll ever need.
Good and bad.
Good and
I
bad.
say
Yeah.
good and bad
Yeah.
because there's bad lessons that my daughter learned that really turned her off the sports, but we don't get it. That's another day.
So now that you're in this vertical, what are you seeing as like the major challenges? What is it? What is your day like? So now at a big company, what does your day-to-day look like versus being at a small company?
A lot of it is the repeat business, which is really cool.
So mining.
yes,
okay.
you
Customer,
have like
almost like customer account management.
right,
Yeah.
like each day there is something on tap, right? That is a cycle or a deal that's happening inside your account, just because you're so big that every customer is buying something
Right.
from you, right? At least the territory that I have today, there's
So,
probably 4 active accounts.
Let me ask you kind of this, because I always kind of struggle with this. So are you doing new biz too?
It's all business development
And
plus
account management?
Yes,
Okay,
plus
so people don't-
maintaining
right.
the existing footprint that are in these accounts.
Because people don't realize sometimes, like, oh yeah, it's new business, but then 3/4 of your day could be just dealing with the existing customer issues.
All right.
Right.
Here comes an important question. Being that you're taking over existing accounts, are they going to pay you on any new incremental business that you bring to it?
So, yes, that was part of the negotiation going into the role, right? Hey, I'm leaving a job that I'm getting commissions at already.
Right.
And they're definitely taking care of me from a commission standpoint, whether or not these deals are closed, up until a point.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like-
no,
like-
and again, I don't ask for numbers, but I'm
Yeah.
about business.
And if the business that I do close happens to end up being higher than what I'm currently getting for the time allotted, then I'll get paid that
We
too.
could do a whole podcast on commission negotiations.
yes.
Me too.
Right? No, yeah. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as commission, CFO who's got to kind of approve
Yeah.
commissions.
And it's going toward the business deals from the current accounts that are happening will still go towards my quota.
I saw something on LinkedIn from TikTok. Sorry, Grant Cardone. We all know who he
Yep.
is, and he's doing a seminar on commissions. And I clicked the button. I wanted to hear what he had to say about it. And one of the greatest things he said, he goes, "Companies want the best employees, and they offer them the opportunity to make the real money if they succeed." But then all of a sudden, that business comes in, and they forget all the things that they said that they really wanted, and they try to shortchange the sales guy. Change the commission rate, change this, change that. Just fucking pay the guy what you agreed to pay him. Don't jerk him around. Don't change the goal line.
Yeah.
Don't just give him.
I have seen, this is a sensitive topic in my career, commissions, commission calculation, what is commissionable, what's not commissionable is always a challenge for sales folks, especially for highly compensated commission folks. And having the system in place, that's a key deal, like making sure the system
Yep.
is in place and you're not
Can
just
track.
Yeah, because a lot of times, look, in my life, a lot of times it's an Excel spreadsheet calculating, okay, is the margin within whatever it's supposed to be, is that commissionable or not commissionable? So that's a big deal for everybody. It's
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, the larger companies have,
They have like a real
the
software.
accounting systems and the trackers, and we have every tool imaginable to us to report on what the invoice is out, the invoice is paid, what yes. So
Right, and as account management, you're probably all over that stuff too, because you're handling soup to nuts, right? Making sure customers are happy, and that includes when they screw up the billing, when they screw up, right?
Yes.
You have to fall on the sword sometimes, yeah.
yeah,
I
and
get
that's
it.
So do I.
Yep.
the big part of being really good at your job is being able to do that, and then carving out the time to find that new business,
Right.
because
Well,
you
yes.
cannot be bogged down by all the mundane daily.
What you're saying, I cannot emphasize that enough. People get confused. Oh, I hired this person to do new business. Oh, but I gave them 75% of their day is handling customer
bullshit.
issues. Yeah, 100%.
All right, we got our last 2 questions.
Hit me.
You go.
What's
All
up?
right, so it's been an exciting career so far. Very interesting. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? We
Yeah,
could've- we
no,
could've
that's
give that to you in advance and let you think it, but
So I have always thought that I would want to be like in a leadership role, like
Okay.
managing.
Sure.
That's like the last thing
You've
I
seen it from
wanna
the other
do.
side. Like, what the hell do I want that job?
Oh my God. I'm like the numbers and the forecasting and the responsibility of having your team.
and the therapy that you have to give.
Yes.
It's funny.
I praised my director because I just know the things that the pressure and what he needs to make sure runs up the chain. But what I do see myself doing is more smaller group mentorship and leadership. So I would love to see this territory that I'm in, which lacked a local
Presence.
representative. Yeah. Like it was always someone's going to do this and that. Right. But now they
There's
have.
always an end that.
Right. And so now I'm just this. And I want to make sure that the ball's not dropped for what's currently in place today, and we build upon that. But I also want to get some new accounts for us and eventually be able to have a role where I am now facilitating the other client managers on the accounts that I've built.
Yeah, building up. Yep.
Right,
Makes
and
sense.
now I can kind of dictate how the strategy is going to be on the account. You know, that's like account director.
I see it.
It sounds like a leadership role. But
Yes, but
I know, with caveats, I understand.
a
I get
little
it.
less of the, you know, I have the whole region,
Yep.
or the, you know, across the country, all of these people roll up to me. I
right.
get my territory, I understand it. It's a little more, less complicated.
Last question. If you could have dinner with anyone in the history, alive or dead, in the world, as we know it, who would you want to sit down and break bread with?
Oh, I hear this asked on so many episodes that I've seen, and I'm like, I never want to get asked that question. It may be my grandfather, my dad's dad.
Okay.
And I find him fascinating because he flew in World War II. He was a
Fighter pilot.
fighter pilot. And you watch, Top Gun,
Sure.
and I'm like, and then I've heard the Blue Angels speak, and getting into a machine that powerful in war.
In between the missiles.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would love to understand what.
Where got his balls for that?
Right?
Oh,
Like-
this is a tremendous answer.
I can't comprehend it. And then, he retires from the Air Force, and then he's an FBI agent. And he has 5 children with my grandmother.
He's still alive?
Not still alive, no. He died of prostate cancer.
Got
But and his son dies of pneumonia. And I recently just started to kind of pick apart from my father what that was like. Like in that time when you have a sibling that passes away, there was no therapy. There was no
Deal with your grief and shut
yeah.
up.
And so that probably had a very big part of who my grandfather became and was. And I've heard from my father that he changed once he had grandchildren. Cool. That kind of gave him that soft spot again.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of our show. We would like you to look into the camera over here. If you want to do a little plug, how to reach you, name of your company, little
Sure.
30-second segment over there.
So I am at Worldwide Technology, WWT, and I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Christina Buttle. We are very, you can find us on WWT.com, and we have an amazing platform where you can create an account, log into an entire lab, which has, we've actually invested about $1 billion in our advanced technology center. And so as a user, you can have an account profile. You can go and click on any of our practice areas. We have learning paths, training, free training. You can view different labs that we've done in conjunction with 20 plus, no, probably much more than 20, but we work with the top 18 out of 20 OEMs, and we're the #1 partner to all of them. So check out our website, check out the platform.
And hit her up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, let me know if you need any help.
Mark, where do we find you?
Mark Simpson, SEM Holdings. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on TikTok now because our clips are starting to make their way around. Find me on Instagram as well, 917-414-4027.
I'm Eddie Pod, your host. If you're doing a trade show or you're going to a conference, let me pump up your team. Let me talk to them before they go. Make sure they have a plan. Give them an idea what to do, what not to do. And let's make this the best trade show, the biggest ROI that you've ever seen in your company's history. Call me, 631-334-8587. Eddie Pod's out.